The envelope sat on his desk for 11 days before he opened it. Not because he forgot it was there, because he was waiting for the exact right moment. And by then, he understood that timing was its own kind of violence. One of the 5 people in this video waited 3 years. Not because they had to, because they chose to. Because they knew that the longer you wait, the more precise the damage becomes. The others waited months, a full fiscal year. One of them started planning on a Friday and didn't finish until the following winter. Every single one of them had a moment, a specific, identifiable moment, when they could have exploded, could have screamed, confronted, destroyed everything in one loud, catastrophic scene that would have felt incredible for about 45 seconds. They didn't. They chose a different path. Patience isn't virtue. In the right hands, it's a weapon, and these 5 people knew exactly how to use it. Marcus spent 4 years building a client pipeline that generated $2.3 million in annual revenue for his firm. Every lead tracked, every call documented, every client relationship cultivated with the kind of slow, compounding patience that doesn't photograph well but shows up clearly in quarterly reports. His director, a man named Dorian, attended every presentation, signed off on every strategy, watched Marcus do the work and said nothing. Then, when the senior partnership role opened up, the role Marcus's numbers had already earned 3 times over, Dorian went into a closed-door pitch with the executive board and used Marcus's own playbook. The client language Marcus had written, the acquisition model Marcus had built, repackaged, slide deck reformatted, and just like that, Dorian got the promotion he wanted. Marcus said nothing. He opened a folder instead. Over the next 8 months, he quietly collected every original document, time-stamped, version-controlled, co-authorship intact. He wasn't looking for a confrontation. He was waiting for the right system to do the work for him. That system arrived in the form of an external audit, standard procedure, 12 months of deliverables under formal review. Marcus submitted his original records with a single, professionally worded cover note, citing attribution discrepancies and requesting formal clarification. Here's the thing about Dorian. He'd spent a career watching other people absorb the consequences of his behavior. He had no contingency for someone who'd been quietly documenting for 8 months. Dorian was given a choice: resign quietly or be terminated for documented cause. He resigned. Marcus left the company 6 weeks later. Senior title, better firm. Letter of reference from the auditing firm's lead consultant. He didn't want Dorian's job. He wanted the outcome. Priya and Nadia had been business partners for 7 years. They built an online education platform together from nothing. 2 laptops, 1 shared office lease, $40,000 combined in savings, and the specific kind of trust that only forms between people who've watched each other work through the hard parts. By year 6, the platform was clearing $800,000 annually. Then Priya found the second set of accounts, not through instinct, not through suspicion, through a routine tax filing, a discrepancy in operating expenses that her accountant flagged as unusual. She pulled the thread. Nadia had been running a parallel LLC for 22 months. Same business model, overlapping client lists, funded quietly through diverted platform revenue, a separate infrastructure built in the background while the original platform kept running and Priya kept working. 22 months. That's not a mistake. That's a decision made and remade every single month for nearly 2 years. Priya didn't confront her. She called a lawyer, then a forensic accountant. Then she spent 3 months reconstructing every paper trail while Nadia kept showing up to their Monday check-ins and talking about Q4 projections. But what Nadia didn't know yet, and what changes everything, comes in about 4 minutes. When Priya finally moved, she filed a civil suit timed to the exact month Nadia was in active negotiations with a venture capital group for a 7-figure investment. The suit hit public record 48 hours before the VC called. The investment dissolved immediately, the parallel LLC was flagged in discovery, Nadia settled for $412,000 and a 3-year non-compete that closed every door in the industry she'd tried to enter. Priya rebuilt. Different partner. Same model. The platform crossed 7 figures 18 months later. There is a particular grief that comes from being betrayed by someone who shares your last name. It doesn't feel like betrayal at first. It feels like confusion, like a math problem that won't balance. Elliot was the younger of two brothers. When their father died, the estate was clear, split evenly. His older brother, Terrence, was named executor. Terrence moved fast. Within 3 months of probate, he had reclassified 2 assets, a commercial property and a retirement account, as administrative expenses offset against estate debts that Elliot could never locate in any filing because they didn't exist. The reclassification was buried on page 37 of a 40-page executor report. Dense language, legal formatting, designed to be skimmed. Elliot wasn't a lawyer. His girlfriend was, and she read slowly. Stay with this story, because what Elliot's girlfriend found in those filings connects directly to the most methodical act of documented justice in this entire video. He spent 14 months building a formal case, filed a petition with the probate court for a full independent accounting, submitted a documented objection to the executor's report, hired an estate litigator on contingency. Terrence hired his own attorney, then a second one when the first withdrew after reviewing the paper trail. The court ordered an independent accounting. The reclassified assets were identified, reversed, and redistributed. Terrence was formally removed as executor and ordered to cover Elliot's legal costs. The commercial property, once properly valued, was worth $340,000. Half of that became Elliot's, 18 months after the funeral. Terrence's legal fees nearly equaled his inheritance. Justice was served. Elliot didn't attend the final hearing. He was at a real estate closing. He wanted the outcome. Cassandra found out on a Thursday. By Friday morning, she hadn't said a word. Her partner of 6 years, a man named Dex, had been involved with someone in his professional network for 8 months. That was the personal betrayal. But personal betrayals have a way of sitting on top of financial ones. And when Cassandra looked underneath, what she found was worse. The joint business account. A home renovation company they'd built and run together for 4 years. Dex had been quietly liquidating it, moving capital in incremental amounts into a personal account Cassandra wasn't on. Not enough at a time to trigger a flag. Enough compounded over months to constitute a plan. She didn't cry, she called her accountant. Over the next 47 days, Cassandra documented every unauthorized transaction, filed for legal separation, which froze the business assets immediately. Then she made one additional move. She contacted every active client on the company's roster, 12 jobs currently in progress, and introduced herself as the project manager going forward, citing an internal restructuring. But what Dex didn't understand, and what changes everything about how this ends, is that Cassandra had incorporated under the company's alternate trade name 9 months earlier. A slow-season administrative detail that nobody had noticed, that nobody was supposed to notice. That trade name held the active contracts, the vendor accounts, the client relationships. Dex retained the original LLC. The original LLC had no active contracts, $17,000 in frozen assets, and no clients. Cassandra's company completed all 12 active jobs, retained all 12 clients, and turned $91,000 in profit during its first independent year. Dex sued. The court found the trade name registration predated any claim he could assert. He dropped the case. Remember the envelope. This is story 5, the long game. Nolan had been a junior partner at a mid-sized architectural firm for 11 years. His senior partner, a man named Gregor, had co-developed the firm's most significant project, a mixed-use urban development that was submitted for a national design award. The award was announced. Gregor accepted it, solo, on stage, without attribution. When Nolan raised the issue internally, professionally, in writing, through the firm's formal process, Gregor had him removed from the partnership. Performance issues, enough documented justification to make it legally defensible, enough ambiguity to make a challenge expensive and exhausting. Nolan didn't fight it, he left. What Gregor didn't know, and couldn't have known, was that Nolan had been maintaining a private archive for 3 years before the termination. Not because he'd anticipated this specific outcome, Because he understood from the beginning what kind of man Gregor was. Original design drafts, full revision histories, internal communications establishing joint authorship, time-stamped, organized, a complete evidentiary record. He waited, not for opportunity, for the right audience. That audience materialized when Gregor was nominated for a position on the board of a national architecture foundation, a role that required a formal professional credentials review. Nolan submitted his archive to the foundation's ethics committee, not as a grievance, as a documentation inquiry, calm, sourced, professional. The foundation launched a full review. The award was rescinded. The board appointment was withdrawn. 3 former clients, seeing the documentation made public, reopened attribution disputes across 2 additional projects. Gregor didn't lose his firm. He lost something harder to rebuild than a firm. He lost the field's trust in his name. The envelope on the desk, it was the foundation's acknowledgement letter. Nolan had known it was coming for 11 days. He opened it when he was ready. Nolan didn't want Gregor's job, he wanted the outcome. The people in these stories didn't win because they were louder, faster, or stronger. They won because they chose a different path. They won because they understood something their adversaries never did. That time, used with precision, doesn't just pass. It works for you. It accumulates. It compounds until the moment is right. The most dangerous move in any conflict isn't the one made in anger. It's the one made after the anger has become something colder, something useful, something final. New stories drop every week on Revenge Reckoning. We document the outcomes that time provides. Subscribe if you're the kind of person who plays the long game. The reckoning is always coming.